As the country continues to grapple with the third wave of the pandemic, we're getting a closer look at what went wrong during the first and second waves at long-term care homes, especially in Ontario. This week, the province's Auditor General report confirmed what so many had been saying. The system was not ready for the pandemic.
Some decisions were taken that complicated the long-term care homes' ability to deal with their residents.
And today, a second report, this one from the Ontario Long-Term Care COVID-19 Commission. The province's premier promising action even before reading its findings.
I will not stand here and try to make excuses or pass the blame, but I will stand here and tell you that I'm doing everything in my power as premier, and I'm sparing no expense.
Well, let's get a couple of perspectives on what needs to happen next in long-term care homes. We're joined by Jacqueline Mitchell, whose mother is in an LTC in Ontario, and Isobel Mackenzie, the BC Seniors Advocate, an office that monitors senior services and issues in the province and is independent of government. And Jacqueline, let me start with you. Your mother is in the Eatonville Care Centre in Toronto. She has been there throughout the pandemic. How's she doing?
That's a difficult question to answer because I haven't been able to see my mother since the last time I saw my mother was April the 5th, and that was a window visit. The last time I saw her before that was December the 3rd, also a window visit. The time before that was October the 3rd. And each time my mother is deteriorating, she doesn't open her eyes. She doesn't speak. She's wearing a mask. I cannot see her. I cannot make contact with her. There's no bonding for us. So it's very, very difficult. So how is she? She is alive. She is breathing, but she has no quality of life.
That is so difficult to hear. I want to play a clip and get your reaction, Jacqueline, in a moment. The Minister of Long-Term Care in Ontario speaking this week. Here's how she responded to the Auditor General's report.
As the Minister of Long-Term Care, I have a responsibility, a duty, an obligation. But in terms of really raising the importance of long-term care and addressing the shortcomings, addressing the failures of the previous government, yes, I'm doing that.
Jacqueline, when you heard that clip earlier this week, what was your reaction? What is your reaction?
I turned the TV off because her arrogance in saying that, she annoyed me. It was painful to listen to. It didn't acknowledge the human suffering. It didn't acknowledge that almost 4,000 people died on her watch in Ontario. It didn't acknowledge that the tone is from the top. She owns this issue. I am not blaming her for the pandemic, but she has to own it as the leader. And she cannot play the blame game. She cannot blame previous governments. That is insensitive to all the people who died. That is insensitive to me, who I can't see my mother. So that's how I responded to it. I literally turned the television on.
Isobel, we know a lot of people are hoping this pandemic is going to be a turning point for long-term care in this country after we've just heard so many heartbreaking stories about what's been happening inside so many long-term care homes. Do you think it's going to be a turning point?
I do, Ian. I think that Canadians have been awakened to life in long-term care in this country. And I think that will be a turning point. We need to remember that most Canadians have never seen the inside of a nursing home. And now, through this pandemic and the images on their screens and discussions over the radio airwaves for the past year, they understand what life is like, and they're saying we need to do better.
This is a big question, so you'll have to figure out, Isobel, what part of this you want to take on. But what needs to be done to fix the system?
Well, a number of things. You're right. It's a big question. So certainly for some, it's about the physical infrastructure, this issue around 4 people sharing a room and 3 people sharing a room. The degree to which it has to be fixed is different in different provinces. It's probably most acute in Ontario and Quebec, and to a lesser extent in provinces like BC. But then there's the staffing issue. Who is going to be in that care home on a day-to-day basis? And Jacqueline will certainly know this from her experience with her mom. The quality quality of life is determined by, is there somebody there when I need their help? And is there somebody there to listen to me and to make me feel valued? And that comes down to having enough people and to having the right kind of people and to making the people who live in residential care feel as important as other customers in the rest of Canada that are served by people who are paid a lot more than some of the people working in our care homes are.
You're right. It is the first time a lot of us have seen inside those rooms, and some of the pictures from Ontario of 3 or 4 beds. I mean, to me, it seemed kind of jammed together in a room. I was shaking my head as I saw it. Jacqueline, from your perspective, a very personal and very valid perspective, what message do you want governments to hear?
Well, I want, first of all, I agree with some of what Isobel has said in the sense that we need to look at, accommodations. We need to have a sort of like a resident-focused or client-focused approach. So we can build more rooms. We can build, throw more brick and mortar at this whole problem. We can throw billions of dollars like the minister, said that she was doing. That does not fix the problem, because to me, that is all knee-jerk response. We need to step back. We need to identify, not just, we shouldn't conflate what happened in the pandemic with a long-term fix. We need to say, what is this? We need to have a vision, and we need to have a strategy for that vision. And then we can get down to the tactics of how we're going to fix the problem. Think about the duty of care you have towards residents. And that duty of care is really one of life and death. If you do not have accountability and enforcement and oversight, people are going to end up literally dying, because you have to spend the money under compliance. You have to create a new system that is independent of government. But you also have to understand that the cost of non-compliance is literally people die. In the case of the pandemic, almost 4,000 people died. That's what I...
Isobel, what's your view on that?
I agree. I think that the message to government would be the role of government is regulatory and enforcement, and that we have to remember that the person we are caring for in long-term care needs us to ensure that they are receiving the best possible care that they can. And we need to have regulations, we need to have oversight, we need to have independence of that oversight, and we need to have the tools necessary to provide confidence that our seniors are getting the care that they need.
It's going to be interesting to see. There's obviously a lot of concern about this among the public. Can that turn into political will, and will there actually be meaningful change? Thanks to both of you for speaking with us on this topic tonight.
Thank you, Ian.
And we did ask for an interview with Ontario's Minister of Long-Term Care, Mary Lee Fullerton. Her office did not respond.